I'm Debbie DeLue. I'm one of the co-founders of Applied Visual Thinking. We create tools to close gaps, avoid obstacles, build bridges, and create change. And today we're going to introduce you to customer journey mapping. We'll get to that in just a moment. Let me introduce you first to my partner, Sherry Kennedy.
Hello, I am Sherry Kennedy, the other co-founder of Applied Visual Thinking. We are so glad that you joined us. Thank you for being here for this course. By the end of this course, you'll be able to engage your customers or clients, involving them in a fun, easy process for improving your business interactions. Along the way, you will capture vital information from those customers and win them over. At Applied Visual Thinking, we believe that learning to work visually is within everyone's reach. Learning these skills can and should be fast, easy, and fun, and that's why we're here. We also believe that learning to work visually is absolutely critical in this as a 21st century skill. And finally, we believe everyone at all levels must be ready, willing, and able to contribute to the conversation. At Applied Visual Thinking, we envision a world where visual thinking becomes first nature to everyone.
And our promise to you today is that during this course, you will learn to capture your customers' experiences visually from end to end, mapping out their customer journey using simple diagrams, icons, and color to add clarity and create meaning. And armed with that knowledge, you will be able to chart possible solutions that you can quickly, clearly, and confidently share with anyone, speeding you and your organization along the path to delighting your customers. And you're also going to be applying your visual thinking superpowers. We hope you enjoy the course.
So before we begin, let's briefly recap what you learned in Foundations. You learned about the visual thinking landscape and the basic tools that you can use when you're thinking visually. So the visual alphabet, those core tools, and how to put those together into a visual vocabulary, expressing your ideas through an icon mashup, and how to use hierarchy and color to add meaning and pizzazz to your work, and a few simple diagram types. We hope you have had a chance to practice some of these. We'll be using all of this. As you move through this course, you'll be using this learning model. We'll be introducing skills and concepts, and then we'll show how to apply these skills in an example. You'll have some activities to do, to practice, to lock in the learning, and then finally you'll have homework to do and turn in with some reflection questions in the form of what did you learn, what did you appreciate, what's one thing you might change, and what's one question you might still have. As we go along, you'll see these icons in the right-hand corner. When you see the pen, grab a pen and some paper or your tablet, and we'll be drawing together, or else we'll ask you to pause the video and draw something before continuing on. The paper icon means to take pictures of your work and share them with us. And the pen and paper icon means you'll be completing your drawings offline and then taking pictures to share with us when you've completed the activity. We are so glad you've joined us. So before we dive in, a couple of things to keep in mind. First off, the materials you choose will in part inform how you can use your visual thinking. Remember that you will need something to draw on and something to draw with. And there are 3 levels. There's a basic level, a level 2, and then there are various options. Any of these 3 levels is fine for working on your own. Whatever you have is fine. If you're working in a small group, the basic level is also fine. If you're working with a larger group, you'll probably want to advance to level 2 or the various options so that that work can be seen from a distance. So also keep in mind that material and time will influence your design. If you have a little bit of time and some basic materials, you can do something quick and simple. If you have more time and more advanced materials, you can advance to a more complex image. If you have lots of time and higher end materials, you may be able to do something a little bit more refined. Start with what you have and know that any of these will be able to convey your ideas effectively.
So before we dive in and start drawing, let's talk a moment about what we're going to be doing during this course. When we're customer journey mapping, and this is in your handout, we're going to be following this process. So we're always going to start with a mind map. Then we're going to create a Venn diagram. Then we're going to create a current state timeline. And then we're going to wrap up by creating a future state timeline. And all along the way, we're going to be using the foundational tools that we learned in our Foundations course to add meaning and show hierarchy and add color and pizzazz to our work. So before we start, I wanted to give you a definition of customer journey mapping. And I actually like this definition from Salesforce. A customer journey map is a visual representation of every experience your customers have with you. It tells a story of a customer's experience with your brand from original engagement into hopefully a long-term relationship. So very important work mapping out customer journeys to have empathy with the customers and their experiences with you and your company and your brand. There are many ways to actually create customer journey mapping. So let's talk about those for a moment. So we have some very simple example here, just some black and white example. And this one was created by Barbara Holmes. Very simple little icons and arrows to show the customer journey mapping. You can also use sticky notes to do customer journey mapping. This one's a little slicker and a little more complicated process. This one was created by Mike Biggs. And then here on the end, we have this beautiful infographic that was created by Jake Trumper to show the customer journey map. And all of these have their place. In our course, we're going to be picking a sweet spot, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But all customer journey mappings have some common ground. They all show some very particular things. They show the steps that are taken in the customer's experience. They show the interactions between people and perhaps things like systems. And it also shows the moods, whether your customer is happy or maybe not so happy or very unhappy. So all customer journey mappings show those things. And you'll see here in our examples, we have our little guy here. He doesn't look so happy. In our sticky note in this area here, people are definitely capturing moods, but it's on a sticky note. And in our example over here by Jake Trumper, this beautiful infographic, you'll see that customers started off with, yeah, they're not so happy. They get a little less happy, but in the end, they are happy. So all customer journey mappings are going to show these things, including ours. Let's talk a moment about speed versus slickness. The more time that you have, the slicker you can make your customer journey maps. So if you have a little time, they're going to be faster, but they're also going to be a little less polished, like our very simple black and white one here. If you have a little bit more time, you might use sticky notes. If you have a lot of time and you have a need for something very polished that you need to publish, you might try an infographic like this one. In our class, we are going to be aiming for a sweet spot. And the sweet spot is something that is fast, nimble, and collaborative. We are trying to gather information quickly, but we also want it to show a lot of visual information. This is the sweet spot we're going to be using in our courses. We're going to try to capture our information with a lot of visual data so that we can understand the story quickly and easily, but we're also going to make them very fast. This particular sweet spot is also really great for iterations. So if you have a lot of customer journey maps that you want to try out, this is a really great way to capture it. And you can always turn them into something slicker. So you could take this simple map and take it to a great graphic designer and they can help you turn it into something slick. But you can get to this level of information much quicker than you can get to this level of information. So grab your tools and we will see you in the next section. We're going to dive in and start creating our customer journey maps.